And that signal has elicited some, well, mixed responses. I've been speaking to Eric Feigel, who's an epidemiologist and senior fellow at the Federation of American Scientists, and I asked him if the British government had made the right decision.
This is absolutely the wrong time and the wrong decision, period. It is the only thing I can say, it's a horrible, terrible, no good, very bad decision, because the Delta variant is not your normal variant. The Delta variant is the most contagious, fastest transmitting variant, much more than we've ever seen before. It is much more severe. It is about 4 to 5 times greater risk of hospitalization than the old strain. And also, it is vaccine somewhat attenuating and invasive.
But
we know that one dose is not enough.
Yes.
And we know that with 2 doses in Israel, we've seen the efficacy drop from the 90s to just 64%, according to the latest data.
But
this
isn't
is the wrong time.
Eric, isn't that, I mean, you're absolutely clear on that. Isn't the point, though, that vaccinations in the UK are at a pretty high level? I know you mentioned Israel there, and that whilst it's easily transmissible, it is not as virulent as previous strains have proved to be.
So that is a complete misinformation and completely false. That data was, you're comparing apples and oranges. The fact is that the Delta variant is way more severe, way more virulent. It causes severe disease and greater risk of hospitalization by 4 to 5-fold, according to the studies peer-reviewed and also according to government data.
So what would you say? It's completely
false to say that it's less severe.
What would you say then to the Prime Minister when he says, look, if we don't go ahead now, when do we go ahead? What is your message there?
He's framing it as, oh, we don't want to live under a shroud of lockdowns, or we want to reopen. No, this is not a choice between lockdowns or reopening. If you want to avoid lockdowns, everyone wants to avoid lockdowns. Nobody wants to avoid lockdowns. If you want to avoid lockdowns, the path to do that is actually not the one he chose. The path to do that is more mass ventilation, air cleaning, all those things, PPEs and things we discussed. But the path he's chosen is the path towards lockdowns. And we do not want that, because hospitalizations, you know, NHS workers, healthcare workers, there is a toll that they can take. And whenever medical ethics dictate, you should always protect and prevent people from suffering hospitalizations and long COVID, which 1 in 7 adults and 1 in 12 children suffer from long COVID.
Yeah.
That is not an acceptable statistic. And so just say, well, let's flood the hospitals right now. Our hospital beds are not empty. You know, that is just complete dereliction of any public health and ethical measures, especially as a government leader.
A pretty clear critique there from Eric Feigel on Boris Johnson's latest pronouncements. You're watching BBC News. Do stay with us. Coming up in just a moment, a Russian gang behind a huge global cyber attack demands $70 million in ransom from a swathe of different companies.